Another lunchtime show live. When you get the taste for it, you kind of start going for it, don't you? Good afternoon, all. I hope you're all doing well. And I hope you can get through the mire of all these different transfer rumours that are going on, especially over the goalkeeping situation. It's becoming more and more confusing as not even each day goes by, but as every half an hour or every minute goes by. And there's a couple of reasons why I'm doing yet another show on goalie targets. Now, if you recall, I came on Tuesday lunchtime and said it's a done deal. Apparently, Fabrizio Romano has said that more or less here we go on the John Victor deal. We were signing him, but then things changed. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I'm doing this. The first is, and the most prominent reason, is the well-written article, opinion article that appeared in KUMB earlier on Wednesday morning. And the second is that there are so many ITKs and journalists backing the signing of up to 5 different keepers at West Ham, trying to make head or tail of what's true and what's not. Now, I listened to Gio's video earlier today on Hammer's Chat. He did a very similar video about this. And if you've yet to subscribe to Hammer's Chat, please do so. I like what Gio talks about. But not before you subscribe to this channel, of course, the West Ham Voice. And by the way, as I've said many times before, it's free to subscribe and all the content is free as well. And as I asked yesterday, if you're thinking of leaving West Ham Voice, unsubscribing, let me know why, so that I can improve the channel. Any feedback is welcome. So let's continue. So one thing Gio didn't mention in his show this morning is who's involved in the background as to all these different transfer links. He talked about things in general about the goalies, but we kind of hear up until yesterday, for example, we heard that, as I've said, Fabrizio Romano gave the virtual "Here we go" shout out on the signing of Botafogo's John Victor. But later in the evening, a Norwegian journalist by the name of Daniel Nogen Falla, probably got it wrong, stated that, and I'm translating this directly from what he wrote on Twitter, Mads Hermansen is approaching a move to West Ham. Earlier in the day, on Tuesday, Sky Sports reported that the Premier League club had withdrawn from negotiations due to the price tag. But there is still positive dialogue between Leicester and West Ham. Personal conditions are in place, meaning that Hermansen has actually agreed personal deal. So why the continued link to John Victor? And again, as Gio highlighted, why then there are up to 4 bids on the table for 4 different goalies? And with a continued interest, of course, for Zion Suzuki, making it 5 goalies. Let's review the 4 bids that are apparently up at the moment. Victor, Mads Hermansen. We've made a bid for Michael Zetterer of Werder Bremen. And we made a bid for Dominik Livakovic of Fenerbahce. Now, these are all backed up by various ITKs, various journalists. And of course, there's still that interest in Zion Suzuki as well. Now, do I believe there's more than one bid in the pipeline? Yes, I do. Do I think they're in the order that I've listed? Well, I think Hermansen remains the top target for certain people at West Ham United. But I think also John Victor remains a top target for certain people at did I just say Man United? I think Hermansen remains the top target for certain people at West Ham. Do I think John Victor remains a top target for certain people at West Ham? Yes, they're both top targets at West Ham United. Now, one thing's for sure, West Ham are determined to get another goalie in this transfer window. That's a positive thing. But by the looks of things, goalies such as Victor, Zetterer and Livakovic are goalies suggested by agents. Hermansen and Suzuki, for that matter, are goalies identified by Carl Macaulay's data-driven analysis. And this is the important part that I'll come back to in a moment. Now, the unfortunate thing is both Hermansen and Suzuki are valued at well over £20 million each. Victor and Livakovic, around €10 million. Zetera valued at around 5 million euros. Now, many of us cynics would suggest that Mr. Sullivan would undoubtedly opt for the cheaper option. But this isn't what seems to be playing out, because if it was the cheaper option, it'd be Zetera, because all the other two are priced at 10 million, and then you've got Hermansen and Suzuki at even more. So for a fee of around 10 million euros, I suggested yesterday that there are likely to be better options around, such as Man City's number 2, Stefan Ortega, who's in the final year of his contract. And thanks to Dad's Our podcast, they suggested a number of other keepers that we could target for that sort of price as well. But the growing consensus is that Leicester City seem to now be willing to come to some sort of compromise over the sale of Hermansen if the terms of the contract are agreed. Sorry, the terms of the price is agreed. But the problem is that I said a moment ago, from what it currently looks like, the reason why we're close to trying to agree a deal for the likes of John Victor is because of one agent called Willie Mackay, and of course, Mr. Barry Silkman is involved in the deal as well. Both good mates of David Sullivan, both with a vested interest in getting this deal over the line. Whether it's good for West Ham or not in the long run, it's kind of irrelevant. Now, I should have seen this before, and I feel quite stupid in not doing so much sooner. And with the greatest of respect, some of you in the chat on Tuesday mentioned Mackay, but the penny didn't drop for me at the time. I got confused. Who are you talking about, Mackay? I thought people were talking about Macauley or something like that. So is Carl Macauley losing the battle against agents for our transfers? Well, we know it certainly happened with regards to Callum Wilson, and we know who was behind that deal, Will Salthouse, of course. And it's possible that it may have happened with the signing of Carl Walker-Peters. And I'm trying to find out whether any other agents, other than his agents at CAA base, were involved. Were there any intermediaries known to Sullivan? I don't know. And it looks as if agents are really pushing for any keeper but Mads Hermansen to sign for West Ham. Why? Because those agents aren't involved in the deal to sign Mads Hermansen to West Ham. So it's not in their interest. Now, the question again is being asked, are West Ham about to sign? Could it possibly be that we're about to sign both Hermansen and Victor? I genuinely don't know, but I'm veering towards the I don't think so. Now, as I've mentioned before, it seems that Hermansen is top of the list as long as the price and terms of the transfer can be agreed. Failing that, it looks like Victor is the fallback, is the second choice. Failing that, we go down the pecking order, and then it will be Zetera, and so on. Now, back to this opinion article at KUMB, which was written. It's a really well-written article written by Paul Walker. He highlighted quite clearly the divide within West Ham over transfers. As he suggested, whilst Potter was galvanising the squad over in America, Sullivan had his agent mates in his ear telling him how they could solve West Ham United's squad issues, with Willie Mackay suggesting that he can get our keeper crisis over done and dusted by bringing in John Victor for a knockdown price. Well, we know now it's not a knockdown price because Botafogo only paid £1 million for him. So without a doubt is not a knockdown price. It's a knockdown price when you compare him to Hermansen and compare him to Suzuki, but you get what you pay for. Potter has tried to resist interference by agents, but there are times to know which battles to pick. And the one about Wilson, I guess, was probably the battle that Potter didn't want to pick. You know, he was willing to give in order to get better players in other areas, such as the goalie and such as the midfield positions. Ironically, it's very likely that the arrival of Callum Wilson made Potter's mind up about Mikel Antonio. You know, it was still, if you recall, nothing was talked about in terms of Antonio. It was still kind of like hazy, you know, what might or might not happen. He was training with the under-23s and all that sort of stuff. But when asked directly, soon after the Wilson deal has been agreed, when he was asked about Mikel Antonio being part of next season's squad, Potter went no, just a straight no. So the battle for the keeper is much more than getting the right keeper in. It's now almost a battle of wills as to who's going to prevail in the background. Potter and Macauley on one side, or Sullivan, Salthouse, Silkman, Mackay, and all the other agents linked to Sullivan on the other. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens over time. I don't know. What do you think? Let's go in the chat and see what you all think. This might be a very short show. I hope you're all doing well, by the way. So let's see who's in the chat. See me at 1:19. I'm at lunch. I'm missing my lunch because of this. Good afternoon to you, John. William, hello, mate. I hope you keep. I'm very well. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. All tackled. Oi, oi. Good afternoon to you. All tackled as well. Kim Joe. Sullivan has been exposed for wanting the Brazilian goalkeeper. Put the manager wanting the Brazilian goalkeeper. The manager doesn't want him, and the staff. I'm guessing you're right there, Michael. Good afternoon to you. My guess is 1-1. Your guess is 1-1. You're gonna have to explain that, mate. Sorry, I didn't understand. Sullivan exposed, as you said. David, hello, mate. Any news on Sullivan bringing in Roberto for a second spell at the club? I believe he's in the pipeline. We're just negotiating a deal for him. You know, he might probably be signed by the end of the window. He'll probably come in as our number one keeper over Hermansson and Suzuki. Imagine if we signed Suzuki and Hermansson. Yeah, I mean, you've got Roberto. You know you're going to make him number one. Michael, not losing sleep not losing out to agents is being shafted by his boss. Wonder who that could be. I'm here, Paul. I'm here. I hope you're well. My screen again is playing up. I don't understand why it is, but you know, I'm gonna have to try and sort that out. Don't know what's going on. Anyway, Stel thinks the Evening Standard is a morning newspaper. Robert, I noticed our under 18s are playing Sparta Prague under 19s today live on YouTube. I didn't know that. So I don't have time to watch it, but we'll try and catch up on the result later. Afternoon, I think I've just explained. I hope I have, Steve. I hope you're well. Sai, how are you, mate? I'm hungry. Hope this will sate my appetite. It bloody well hasn't. I can guarantee that. I hope you're well, Sai. Glenn, all I can say is, again, get Sullivan out of the club because he's no good as a German. He owns the club. What can we do? You know, there's not much you can do when a person owns the club. You can sign all the petitions you want. Nothing against them. Nothing against the petitions. But the man who owns the club is not going to sack himself. Good afternoon to you, Josh. I hope you're well. I refuse to believe Sterling could be of interest. Okay, I'll catch up on those those other stories in a moment. Michael, made is Potter. Who are we talking about? Mads is Potter and Macaulay's pick. We will need to sell for a midfield target. I don't know if we would. I've kind of heard that again, that there's a potential that we might need to sell. But I don't think we need to. David, poor light on West Ham of their treatment on John Victor. Well, this is the problem, isn't it? When you start, when the goalie or when the player thinks that they're on their way to a club and then it could all come crashing down, that's not good, is it? You know, so I do feel sorry for John Victor. Look, let's be really honest here. This isn't a John Victor bashing approach. You know, I think, to be honest, I think if we get John Victor, I think we'll get a half-decent goalkeeper. We won't get the keeper that I think we all want, and it certainly wouldn't be the keeper for the next, 4 or 5 years, etc. It'll be for the here and now, maybe for another season or two. Will he be better than Areola? I don't know. I don't think he'll be a bad keeper, but certainly in terms of the style of goalkeeper, I've already talked about this in previous shows, certainly for the style of goalkeeper that Potter wants, you know, a goalkeeper that can play the ball out from the back and all that sort of stuff, we certainly wouldn't be getting that. But it wouldn't be the worst signing in the world. Let's put it that way. Carl, and the circus carries on. Unfortunately, it feels like it. Carl, again, no wonder nobody wants to deal with us. It is, well, you've heard the stories also about, West Ham being criticised with regards to what was happening over the two players at Liverpool. Apparently we made an inquiry, then all went quiet, and now we're looking like we're going to lose out to both. Glenn, becoming a long list. They are a long list, aren't they? And it's difficult for people like me and everybody else that does all this content creation. Especially yesterday when I heard about Romano confirming that the Victor deal was definitely on. Apparently, he's better known as John Victor deal, definitely on. I came out with confidence at lunchtime yesterday, and I kind of said, I repeated what Romano said. It looks like we've got that signing, and it may still happen. It may still happen. I think this is a wise way to do business. It's the best way not to pay over the odds. It is, and I get that bit as well. And I also said yesterday in the show, you can't sort out all our issues in the squad in one transfer window. It will take a couple of transfer windows to sort things out. And maybe it is the right thing to do to get a slightly cheaper goalkeeper now. So long as whatever money we've got left over is actually being spent big on the midfielders and stuff like that. Gaza, Michael X has said, X has said, after we sign a keeper, we have money for a midfielder, but not two midfielders. We have to sell to get two mid. I agree with that. And if you saw the show I did on Tuesday evening, I talked about Paquetá, and I said, look, if a club comes in for Paquetá and we sell him, we will then have the money, and we'll have to go out and get two midfielders. But I agree. At this moment in time, we've got enough money for a goalie and we've got enough money for a midfielder. And remember what I said yesterday as well. You don't pay all the money up front. You pay a down payment. So we've got enough money to put down payments on two other players at this moment in time. If we want two midfielders, then yes, we will have to sell a player. David, you assume that we would be getting two goalkeepers because Victor's transfer is so far advanced. Very poor. Well, I assumed it, absolutely, but it could still happen. It could still happen. And if it does happen, that definitely means that Areola is out the door. Robert, still, I watched Tim Vickery on Sky Sports. He said that Neto was on his way to Brazil. He's John Victor's replacement. Does that mean John is on his way? Yeah, I've read that too. I've heard about that too. And it could well be. It could well be. It could be that at this moment in time. But it's just interesting that Hermansen was highlighted again last night, by a Norwegian journalist, that we haven't pulled out of that deal. As much as we've been led to believe that John Victor deal was done and dusted, we're still in negotiations with Leicester over Hermansen. Could it be again, like I've said? Could it be that we're signing two goalies? I don't know. Michael, probably be Brownhill we get for midfield. He is free. Those stories have actually gone pretty quiet, to be quite honest with you. And I know there were stories about other players that we were linked to. Can't remember their names now, but one player from Bayer Leverkusen, and that's been poo-pooed. And of course, other players from Chelsea, etc. Raheem Sterling, that's also been poo-pooed as well. So thankfully, we're not getting Raheem Sterling. Now, what else have we got here? Let's. Sorry, see, every time I move the screen, you can't see it, but it annoys me because my screen goes. What else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Tim Vickery, really rates Victor. Vickery's a good journalist. He knows his stuff. He specializes on the South American on football, and he would know his stuff. Look, and I talked yesterday about John Victor, his all the scouting reports that we've seen, and he doesn't sound bad. He doesn't sound bad. Frog. I'm starting to see sense in our transfer strategy. Oh, hang on. Nope, it's gone. Carl. Brownhill will come in. I reckon it's just a matter of time. I don't know. I don't think he will, but never say never, I guess. Carl again. I think it's overpriced. I want a midfielder over anything. Have we not got a youth keeper we can put on the bench? We would, but it would mean Wes Foderingham being number 2. And with the greatest of respect to Wes Foderingham, I don't think he's good enough. Victor was the best keeper in Brazil last season. Absolutely. Frog again. It's like the estate loan shark that solves everyone's debt problem. Good morning to you, Scott. I hope 6:30 a.m. Gonna have to head out in a few minutes. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, even just for those few minutes, mate. I hope all is well, and I hope you have a good day, mate. Who else have we got? Please forgive me. There's something going wrong with my screen, so it's difficult for me to scroll down on the chat. Glenn, so the Sully Shell game that always has no balls now has 2. Ray, good afternoon to you, mate. I hope you're well. Carl, Sullivan ain't paying 20 to 30 million for a keeper. He will do everything to ruin that deal. John Hick, good afternoon. It's all crap, Estelle. Jason, afternoon to you. I hope you're well. Josh, incredibly disheartening that our owners keep overriding the manager, head coach in transfers. Surely it doesn't help to interfere so much. I just don't see the upside to it. I don't think any of us do, to be quite honest with you. This is the concern, because it seems that Sullivan has learnt no lessons in the past. Whenever he's gone in, you know, Danny Ings was a David Sullivan special and players like that, and we get nothing from it. What Macauley and Potter want to do is they want a blueprint for the future. I've talked about this many times before. They want a blueprint for the future where you get players in who are valuable now, but it'd be even more valuable in the future. Sullivan will just make money out of this if he just allows, you know, if we get a couple of more Malik Diouf type players, you know, in a couple of years' time, we might have 2 or 3 players on our books that will be worth 50, 60 million pounds each. And I don't understand what he doesn't get. Why? And the problem is he has the agents in his ear going, you should do this, you should do that. You know, I remember I said this about a week or so ago. You know, you don't want to do, you know, listen to Macauley or that data-driven rubbish. You should listen to us. We know what's best for you. No, what's best for an agent is best for the agent, not best for West Ham United. Carl, got to say, Stel Ortega would be a good keeper for us. Every time I've seen him, he's done well. Good afternoon, Mr. Will. How are you? All the best from Gary, Brad, Jake, Paul. Out on the hustle. You should see what you should do is you should get Paul to allow you to have an extended lunch break so you can sit and watch this with some pleasure rather than having to drive around doing the work for him like slaves. Good afternoon, lads. I hope you're all doing well. Michael, Salthouse has taken millions out of this club. Sullivan's such a fool for a businessman. Yeah. Yuha, good afternoon to you. I would not only buy Victor unless he will be the only keeper bought. I really want Hermansen. Look, if you're going to completely overhaul your goalie department and get 2 keepers in, all fair and well. Mojo, screen is overheating still from all this activity and content. Neil, sadly, this is what I feared all along. I think Potter only got Macauley as Sullivan was desperate for any manager, and that was the only way Potter would agree. Why pay the compensation to Chelsea to get Macauley in and then just ignore everything he's offering? Suzuki will be a star. Scott Hermansen is a very good keeper. Who would force Areola out. Not sure about Victor. Look, Victor is a half-decent keeper. And goalkeepers, unlike outfield players, goalkeepers sort of tend to get better as they get older. So at 29 years of age, Victor could have a decent 4 or 5 year career ahead of him in the Premier League. There's no reason why he couldn't. But then you've got Hermansen, who could have a decent 3-4 years and then still be sold at the age of 28, 29 for a good fee if he was at West Ham. That's the difference, I guess. It's me, Sam. Good afternoon to you. Ignore the Sterling links. He simply doesn't fit into a Potter system. It's more than just not fitting into a Potter system. It's the money that would be paid. You know, he's on a massive wage, and apparently it's all been poo-pooed anyway. Michael, we definitely do not need a winger in Potter's system. We definitely do not. No, we've got enough. You know, we've got Guilherme, we've got Bowen, we've got Somerville coming back. And let's not forget, we've got wing backs as well. Wan-Bissaka as a wing back. We've got Diouf as a wing back. We're covered in those areas. So we can play, you know, we can play the wingers with 4 at the back, or we can play a 3 at the back with wing backs and all that sort of stuff. We're fully covered. Carl, As a club, we are looking like amateurs. What player wants to come to us with it like this? Manager has no power. All 30 scouts will be employed. We don't need. Sullivan signs who Sullivan wants. The Cat, good afternoon to you. As a fallback option, what is the speculation doing to Areola? That's a really good point. Don't know. Areola looks, he's looked nervous, hasn't he, during pre-season? All this speculation can't be helping him at all. Zanussi, 10 days to kick off, doesn't give much preparation time. Well, another reason why someone like Hermansen coming in, he doesn't need the prep. He's had Premier League experience. Of course, he's got to get used to his new, the players around him, etc. But it would be easier to ease him in rather than someone like Victor, I guess. Frog. Problem is, Sullivan doesn't give a wet one about anyone's system. No, it seems that way. Juha. Someone just tell Sullivan a plexiglass. Just sell Sullivan a plexiglass to put in goal. Michael, we have been linked to over 200 targets and signed 3. But that's the beauty and that's the problem of the transfer window. We keep being linked. How many times have I said there's a lot of crap out there, and we're all finding that out, aren't we? Glenn, everyone happy about Hermansen. I'm a bit sulky about Suzuki. Suzuki's good, but I think he is one that is just beyond our reach, to be honest. But Hermansen, no reason why not. Foxes, good afternoon. We got the money from Flynn Downs. Roberts, I hear that West Ham are due to have a couple of trialists in behind closed door games. Yes, I've heard that too, but I know nothing more about that. So as soon as I find out, I will let you know. Andy, did you say you can't sort out all your squad issues? Carl, I'll be happy with one decent midfielder. I want Potts, Earthy, and Fearon to get a chance. Souček and Ward-Prowse have to go for me. Well, Potts, I think he's got his chance. Earthy, unfortunately, is injured, so we don't know what's going to happen there. Fearon, I think, is going to be sent out on loan this summer. Souček and Ward-Prowse, you've got to have clubs who want to buy them. It's all very well wanting to sell them, but you've got to have clubs that want to buy them. Ian, good afternoon to you. Just got home from half-day training. Talking about our Brazilian keeper later in the show. Yeah, I mean, at this moment in time, as I've said earlier in the show, so far we know the bid-in is for John Victor. But then a report last night from a Norwegian journalist suggested that we haven't given up hope of signing Mads Hermansen. You work it out. Alan, good afternoon. I think we need to make Sullivan as uncomfortable as possible and hope that we can influence him to leave. He holds us back so much. I do hope this new independent football regulator might help him move on too. As I've said, he will go nowhere. Whilst he's in charge, while he owns the club, he's the owner. Scott, there are 2 Lyon games, one behind closed. Yeah, which I've heard several times now, but I don't know much about the one behind closed doors. Not Lyon, Lille. Moutster, my hammer's blood is bubbling for the new season, and all I ask of the players is to give your all and don't embarrass us. I think there's a good spirit. I mentioned that the other day. I think there's a good spirit in the club. I think that stands in good stead, and hope that develops on the pitch. Homecoming Retro Radio. Thanks for all your work, Stel. Thank you. Well, thank you. I like the name. Thank you. Much appreciated. James, how are you, mate? Good to see you. Ian, if it's all gone quiet, then smells like Brownhill. Well, it hasn't gone quiet on the midfield stuff, but it's all been overtaken, of course, by what's happening in the goalie department. Scott, I did notice a bit of a change in Areola's play in game against Bournemouth. He caught a cross, punched one, and was more progressive with passes. Maybe he feels the pressure, and maybe the 2 new goalkeeping coaches are finally working with him and getting him to focus on other areas, which is good. It can only be good for Areola. I like Areola. I always have. I won't forget what Areola was like when he first arrived. He was a great goalkeeper. He's just lost his touch in some way, in more ways than one. Glenn, one of the Lyon games is a trial of a tea lady and Lille games. Tea lady and car park attendant. We won't get Gladys. Oz the Hammer. Sullivan will encourage Potter to go with the youngsters in midfield. It would surprise me if we do not sign it. it wouldn't surprise me if we do not sign a midfielder. I think we all know we need another midfielder. It's such a shame that we've got what's his name injured at the moment, because I think he would be the player that would probably step into this team. Scott, Robert, you're right. Just woke up. James, Tim Vickery is by far the best English-speaking journo and pundit. David, I heard that Victor wouldn't want to be number 2 because of World Cup. He wants to perform. That's a good point. Yeah. So would he be happy to come in as a number 2? Nikom, good afternoon. Brady would loan out Souček and Ward-Prowse to her mate Moyes and spend their wages on Victor. The trouble with that is we'll probably have to end up covering most of their salaries. Moutster, keepers are like buses. Yeah. 1 minute you have them, next minute they're all coming at the same time. Scott, right. You have a good day, Scott. Thank you for joining. I think I just remember what I just said. Forget it, Moutster. Don't repeat me on what I said. Frog, hop on the light for this. Thank you very much. I've got problems with my screen. That's why I'm a bit hesitant, because the screen keeps flat. Every time I try to put up a message, the screen flashes in and out, and it's really distracting. So please forgive me. It's just taking me off focus for a moment. So I'm trying to think of another way of trying to put your comments up. Toha, another lunch session. I know. I said this at the beginning of the show. You know, you get a taste for it, and all of a sudden you're back doing another lunchtime show. Michael, with Sullivan is all about now, not the future. That's the problem. Toha, you're sounding more like GP every chat. Oh, that's the Frog. Robbie, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Hammer, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. David, I don't understand the so-called big club spending big, yet we had to sell West Ham paid 1 million to pay off Macauley contract at Chelsea and then let him do his job. Absolutely. Gaz, good afternoon to you. Just my opinion, but if we had the Leicester keeper last season, we would have been relegated. So I don't want him. That's that's an interesting point there, mate. You know, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's a very interesting point. Martin, you're spot on about Sullivan and the agents he listens to. Salthouse has been robbing him blind for years. So have the others. Sully has no insight because he's a born narcissist, can only see his own point of view as the majority owner of the club. Sai, good afternoon, mate, from Brisbane. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. I hope all is well with you. Good afternoon to you, Mark. Sorry if this has already been said, but what if we sign both Victor and Hermansen and Areola goes? Victor left out of Botafogo squad after Fabrizio's Here We Go yesterday. He was left out of the Botafogo squad, which seems to suggest even further that he could be on his way to West Ham. Sterling can play wing back or third centre back. Ian, he can for any other team bar West Ham. Who else have we got here? Thank you, Damien. If you're bored, then I'll tell you what we'll do with you. We can just let you go and you won't be bored. There you go. And we can put you in timeout as well. Hang on a minute. Let's just get rid of him. Damien DeMarco is the bane of one of the banes of my life. He always finds a way to get back onto the West Ham boys, and he just, sends me a load of grief. So he's been banned. See you, Damien. Who else have we got? Andrew, I'm a carpenter. If I go to a new carpentry job, I don't need weeks to bed in, and I'm not paid 100 grand a week. That's fair enough. Look, with the greatest of respect, I totally get that, Andrew. Don't disagree with what you said. But I guess, when you're playing in a team, you've got to get acclimatized to your different players, etc. And it's not easy when you're coming into a new team. You've got to get to know the players. You've got to get to know those around you and acclimatize. Sean, good afternoon, mate. I hope you're well. It's done it again. I don't know what's going on with this screen. It's really annoying me. Let's scroll down. David, when is the second Lille game? Not Leon. When is the? I don't know. I'm guessing that given that we've got the game on Saturday, I'm guessing it's going to be probably played on Thursday or Friday. But as soon as I find out, I will let you know. Joey, Potter is a patsy. Sullivan's filthy hands are everywhere. I feel sorry for Potter in this. I think Potter has really tried to really make it clear to Sullivan what he does and doesn't want. And it's difficult sometimes. You're doing a job, and you're trying to do the best. And you've also got a responsibility to the squad that you've got, not just to walk away. And I've heard this mentioned a few times about Potter being a, sort of like a yes man and all that sort of stuff. I'm really not sure. I think, there's been a couple of occasions since Potter has joined. I mentioned them in the January transfer window. There's a few occasions this time round where Potter has put his foot down and said no to a couple of offers of signings. And but sometimes, like I said earlier on, you've got to pick your battles. There are some, like the Wilson thing. Potter definitely, we know Potter really is, he has to get another keeper in. That's why he let Fabianski leave. He announced that before the end of the season. That was his aim. We're getting a keeper in. He made that really, really clear before the last season was through. And I think he is trying to put his foot down where he can. But you pick your battles, don't you? Because he wants to get a good keeper in. He wants to get a good midfielder in. And in a way, it's more important than the battle he lost by allowing Wilson to come in. We replaced our goalkeeper coach at the end of the season. Now he's the Liverpool goalkeeping coach. Yeah. Razor, good afternoon to you. Now Potter should walk with Macauley and show Sullivan and Brady they're not welcome and sell up. Well, I've just mentioned why I don't think he would do that. Matt, just joined still. What's the rundown on today's news? So let me give you a very, very brief update, shall I? Like yesterday, as you all know, I came out quite confidently in the lunchtime show and said we have signed John Victor. And that was backed up by Fabrizio Romano. He almost gave the here we go sign, etc. So I was fairly confident in saying that. But later on that day, later on Tuesday, a Norwegian journalist said, we're not out of the running for Mads Hermansen. Apparently, we've gone back to the negotiating table. We're still talking to Leicester City about Hermansen coming in. And, he sounded quite confident that we can get a deal over the line. Now, apparently, we've got 4 offers in for Victor, Hermansen, Michael Zetterer, and Livakovic. And there's still interest, apparently, in Zion Suzuki. Now, why the 4 offers? Why the 4 offers on the table? You do hedge your bets. You put in an offer. If that doesn't materialize, you've got another one in the background, etc. Now, as I've said earlier, the whole theme of this show is my gut is that Carl Macauley and Graham Potter are pulling the direction of Mads Hermansen and Zion Suzuki. They're the keepers that they would like to have. But David Sullivan, along with his agent mates, in this case, Willie Mackay, and also Barry Silkman's involved in the deal for John Victor. And it looks as if, there's a pull on that way. Sullivan with his agent mates going, well, how about this goalie and how about that goalie? And there's a pull on this way with Potter going, I really want Hermansen. I really want Suzuki. If not Suzuki, definitely Hermansen. So there's a pull there, and that's where we're at the moment. And that's why I asked earlier, do I believe that there are 2 offers on the table or more than 2 offers on the table? Yes, I do. Yes, I do believe we've made an offer for Victor. And yes, I do believe we've made an offer for Hermansen. What the preference is down to who wins this battle. Whether it's going to be Sullivan getting a £10 million deal or €10 million deal over the line for John Victor, or a £20 million deal with probably add-ons for Mads Hermansen. We know who the manager wants. Would it be such a bad thing if John Victor came in? No, it wouldn't be. He's not the worst keeper in the world. He may not be the keeper that Potter wants, and that, of course, can create a problem in its own right. Of course, it can. But John Victor would not be the worst decision in the world. At 29, he's still got a good few years ahead of him. As I said, some keepers flourish as they get older. So there's no reason to suggest that John Victor would be a bad signing. But of course, we know Mads Hermansen is a player that is, he's accomplished. He's played in the Premier League. He knows what it's all about. And he could be a goalie for the next 5 or 6 years. And even then, let's say in the next 5 years. And even then, when he gets to sort of 28, 29, what is he now? 24, I think he is. Or is he 25? But when he gets to the latter stages of his career, we could still sell him at a very decent price. So you could see that Hermansen's for the here and now as well as the future, whereas Victor is mainly for the here and now. If he does really well, yeah, could we sell him on for a bit of a profit? Maybe, but probably not as big a profit as we might make off Hermansen. So hopefully, Matt, that has helped giving you an update. Daniela, good afternoon. At work, so can't join in when the first Monday night show. Fingers crossed, it will be the West Ham Weekly. Fingers crossed, we'll be back this coming Monday night. So do look out for that. Who else we got? Two up, two down. Good afternoon to you. I'll rewind, but thanks. Well, I hope you've just caught up. Chris DeMarco got booted from. There you go. There you go. Some people you can tolerate, some people you can't. Sean, it's not Sullivan's money, it's our money, which is very, very true. He doesn't dip into his own pocket. How much has that bloke siphoned off since he's been here? Well, this is where you start asking the question, what's in it for you when all these transfer deals with your mates are being mooted? Apache, good afternoon to you. The FA can't wait for us to sign Victor. They will say he plays pet. I like that. Spireham, good afternoon to you. Right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing at the club, just as I suspected. Sullivan alienates everyone at the club. Andy, good afternoon to you. I heard yesterday that the second Lille game was Sunday. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Second Lille game is Sunday at Rush Green. So I'll look out for that, and give you any update that I can get. David, thanks, Del. I wouldn't have thought that the second Lille game would be on the same day, as they wouldn't want to have players staying a day longer. So as Andy just suggested, it sounds like it's going to be on the Sunday. I didn't know. So thank you, Andy. Appreciated. Patrick, good afternoon to you. I can't remember where I heard this, but did Potter or Sullivan say that they don't want 100 grand a player, 100 grand a week player sitting on the bench? Could this be one of the reasons we're signing a cheaper keeper? No, you're absolutely correct, Patrick. It was Potter who said that, he doesn't want expensive players on the bench, and I think that, that was when the season ended. And I think everyone thought that we were going to get bids in for Alvarez and various other players. And that just hasn't materialized. I think with the greatest of respect to these players, if Potter had his way, he would have sold Alvarez, maybe Souček, maybe Ward-Prowse, maybe one or two others, but the offers haven't come in. Now, Victor would come in and he'll probably be offered, I'm guessing, he's probably not on a lot. Let's say for argument's sake, he may be on maybe 15, 20 grand a week in Brazil, if that, so even if we doubled his money, he'd be on 30, 40 grand a week, let's say. Hermansen probably will be about the same, even though he's a Premier League player playing for Leicester. He probably wouldn't be on big wages either. It's just the outlay for him up front that would be the difference. Daniela, on a lighter note, Newcastle and Spuds are in meltdown due to no one wants to play for them. Ian, Stel, do you think we could realistically get Mads and El Carnus from Leicester? I think realistically we can get Mads Hermansen. El Carnus, I'm not so sure. I did a show about him a week or two ago. He's all right. Decent player. Is he what we need? I don't know, is the honest answer. Matt, I'm just hoping that we don't use all our remaining budget on the goalkeeper and do not address the clear problem in midfield. I think that's what everybody is hoping for. Glenn, Agent Kudus, what a guy. David, according to Victor's news comes against the Potter and Macauley recruitment wishes. They only wanted either Hermansen or Suzuki. And there's the clash, sadly. Yep, Richard. Our main focus should be on midfield, not a keeper, even though we could do with one. A keeper isn't going to change a season that much. Midfield would. I'd be inclined to disagree with that. I think they're both really vital, to be quite honest with you, but I totally get your point. And yeah, I totally agree. We've got to sort out, we need something else in midfield. And I said that again the other day in a show I did. I said, our midfield looks better, but we're lacking. We're lacking. Frog, I have 100k on the. If having 100k on the bench means putting Areola there, then that's where he's at. That's where he at best deserves to be, based on the past 8 months. Daniela, Glenn, too much lady to print what I can't print what a lady thinks what I think of him. Mark, Just seen Leipzig in talks with Harvey Elliott. Yeah, we missed that one, haven't we? Michael, you sign a player on length of contract, so a £50 million player will cost you $10 million a year for 5 years. Yes, you do. True. Let's bring you up to date on some other news apart from goalies. So mentioned Raheem Sterling. Apparently, we're not interested in him. So all those stories, you can rest at ease. I'm still trying to remember the bloody name of the player that from the midfielder that we were linked to yesterday from Bayer Leverkusen. Apparently that's not happening, and I think we all kind of thought it probably wouldn't happen. We procrastinated over the links to the two Morton and Elliott at Liverpool, and now they both seem to be heading abroad to play their football. What a shame there, but there you go. What other news? There's loads of news where the news that I'm avoiding, and as I've said a few times before, the news that I'm avoiding is any news on wingers, any news on strikers. I just don't think we're looking at anything like that now. And any news on defenders, I don't think we're looking at replacing any defenders at this moment in time. The main news is goalkeeper and midfielder. Those are the two areas that we're focusing on now. And those are the two areas that we hope to get sorted before the transfer window shuts. Now, of course, if we sell any players, that's a different matter. Now, apparently, we've heard a couple of young players have gone out on loan, but apparently we've been made an offer for Irving. Don't know which club. We think it's a club from Palacios. Thank you very much. That's who I mentioned yesterday. Apparently, we had an offer made for Irving. Sounds like it could be from a Scottish club of £2 million. We've rejected that. We think he's worth three. Anyway, so he could be a player that's leaving, and there could be other players that are leaving. We know that the Maxwell Cornet, for example, Potter has kind of said, the player needs to move on to get game time. So we know he's going. Well, unless, if a club comes in for him. So there will be players leaving before the end of this transfer window. I have no doubt. If the likes of Cornet and Irving leave, do we need to replace them? Probably not. If the likes of Alvarez leaves or Paquetá, as I mentioned yesterday, if a big bid comes in for him, or if a bid comes in for any of our central defenders like Dinos, etc., that's all gone quiet, then I think, yes, we will be looking to replace those players. Ward-Prowse, we look to replace him. Souček, we look to replace him. So certain players, you could say, that will be utilized as part of the first team squad that will get game time, certainly will replace them. Irving, Cornet, probably not. We'll sell them, but I doubt very much we'll get replacements in for them. I'm going to scroll up to a couple of comments I've just missed. Here you go. It's done it again. Don't know why it does that, but anyway, it's really annoying. Michael, yeah, done that one. Sean, Liverpool journalists suggest all we did was inquire about Morton and Elliott and then went silent after initial inquiry. The Cat, a dominant keeper will naturally breed confidence with the defense. I totally agree. I think Palacios was spelt rightly. I think unless it's got a U in it as well, it might be a U in it. Andrew, they say those that can't teach, those that can't teach sports, and those that can't teach sports buy football clubs. I think I've got you. Matt, Palacios would be a dream signing, so it will never happen. Of course it won't happen. And when I heard it, I thought, really? That would be a major coup, wouldn't it? Right. I think that one more comment. Chris, Irving is attracting interest from Blackburn, who bid $5 million apparently, and the Scottish clubs are Hearts and Hibs around 2 to 3 mil. So I can see maybe Blackburn getting their player if Irving is willing to drop a league. Right, people. Thank you so much. It's been nearly an hour. Really appreciate it. I do enjoy doing these lunchtime shows, but it does mean I miss lunch. So have a great day. I'm sure I'll be back with more news later on. It's never a dull moment. We're waiting for the confirmation of signing of a keeper. Could it be Hermansen? Could it be Victor? Could it be both? I don't think it's going to be both. It'll be one or the other. Which of the two? I'm going to put my money on Hermansen at this moment in time, but won't be at all surprised if it's Victor. How about that for a get out clause? Thank you all. Have a good day. Have a good rest of the day. Go and have your lunch if you haven't eaten, and I will see you all soon.